Is it time for Brighton to drop Lewis Dunk? That's the question on a lot of Brighton fans' lips after the Wolfsburg friendly. Hello and welcome to Seagulls Central. My name is Adam MacDonald and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're listening on the podcast, welcome and thank you for listening. If you're new, thank you for clicking on this video. And as I always say, if you've been here before, thank you for returning. A few notices before we get into it. If you haven't yet already, please join the FPL League. If you're playing FPL this season, you want to be in a league with loads of Brighton fans. There's loads of people, I think so many people who've signed up literally in 24 hours. We've had, I can't count, but you know, well, I can count, but I haven't counted. There's loads of people, way more than I expected. So that's really great. If you want to join that, feel free to join. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe, get involved in this channel. As I always say, really fast growing community and it's really, really exciting. Right, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this video. It's quite a difficult topic, this, isn't it? Quite a maybe a touchy subject. Feels like a bit of an uncomfortable one, and it's a conversation which I think maybe lots of us don't want to have. But I think it is getting to that point where at least the conversation needs to be had around not even necessarily whether Lewis Dunk has to be dropped, but kind of how Brighton's defence looks over, let's say, the next 6 months, even the next 3 months, let's say between now and Christmas. How's Brighton's defence, and particularly central defence, going to evolve? Because I think after the Wolfsburg game, and I didn't really mention it at all in my Wolfsburg analysis, a lot of the comments, a lot of the social media rhetoric, and to be honest, look, we all watched the game, we all know how it is, we've all played the game, you know, we all know how it goes. Lewis Dunk is getting older. He doesn't have that pace anymore. I think he does look, I wouldn't say a lack of sharpness, but I don't know what it was. I think he's certainly not the player he was maybe 2 years ago. He's still, in my opinion, a fabulous ball player, a fabulous technical defender. The way he can, as we always see, his touch, the way he brings it down his chest, the way he can switch the play, get balls out to Mitoma. I think there's some of it, you know, that kind of quarterback role for him. He's absolutely brilliant, and he's been like that for years. And we've seen him 10 years ago doing it at the Amex, you know, and he's still doing it now at the age of 33 or so. But I think the struggle with Dunk at the moment is that Brighton are playing a very high line, and that's the way we're playing our football. And we saw it against Wolfsburg on Saturday around counter-attacks. We're a side who sit very high. We dominate a lot of the ball. We want to get forward. We urge players forward. Maxim de Kuiper gets forward. You got Minteh high and wide, although he does love to track back. Weaver even pushes up into midfield a little bit as well. You'd imagine if we're playing kadioglu as well at times, you know, we're exposing ourselves on the wings quite a bit. And what that then tends to kind of happen as a result is we do have to succumb to a counter-attacking, you know, force from the opposition. We saw it against Wolfsburg, a really, really strong example of a good counter-attacking side. I thought they looked pretty decent offensively in their own right. And I think we're going to see it on Saturday against Fulham at the Amex, a side who famously in recent years have been a very, very good counter-attacking side with pace on the break. We're going to find it many times this season. You know, there's plenty of pacey Premier League players. You can see it so many times as well in the sense of those teams that come to the Amex and put 11 men behind the ball and play on the counter-attack. Probably all three of the promoted sides will do that. You'd imagine your Evertons, West Hams, they're all kind of, you know, maybe less so West Ham to be fair. But, you know, a lot of sides we come up against like to do that, sit deep in counter-attack. And I wonder with the way that we play where we're on the halfway line, I just don't know if that's Dunk's game anymore. And I think there's a conversation that needs to be had. Do I think it's an urgent change? No, but I think there are definitely people out there who think it is an urgent change. I imagine maybe you watching this might be one of those people that thinks it is an urgent change that needs to happen, that tomorrow we need to drop Lewis Dunk. He shouldn't be starting that first game of the season, and Coppola or Buscaglia should be trusted from the start of the season to come in and support Van Hecke as the secondary centre-half. I think if we were to ever play a back three, and this was why I kind of assumed we were going to play a back three, obviously for many reasons, the players we'd signed, what we'd seen at St. Pauli with Fabian Hürzeler and his previous setups, but also the fact that I felt that Dunk was clearly still a very important player in this side, and Fabian Hürzeler obviously still believes that Dunk is a crucial part of the side. Hence, he's playing him every week. Hence, he still has the captain's armband. We still see the value that he brings to the side. Absolutely. He is still a brilliant player for Brighton. But I'd almost wondered whether a big part of why we might play the back three is it was kind of perfect for Dunk as well. Maybe that was just a coincidence, but it would be perfect. You imagine him sitting as a central defender in a back three with maybe Coppola to his left, Van Hecke to his right, but Scagli supporting here and there whenever we need it. I think it would be or even Dunk as a left centre-half. I think having that protection from two other centre-halves, young, quick, hungry centre-halves, would support Lewis Dunk in the way that I think he does need it. So what do Brighton need to do? Is it a case of tomorrow we need to kind of make that decision to drop him? My prediction would be this. I do think this season we will ultimately end up seeing a bit of a reduced role from Lewis Dunk, and whether that comes about through kind of circumstance and it's just the case of maybe he gets injured a little bit here and there. We see him kind of lacking in minutes. We see we see him go out for a few months and he can't get back into the side. We saw it last season where Igor Webster had to step in his absence at times, even when Van Hecke got suspended. We saw many of our other central defenders coming in and playing. So I think natural circumstances will mean we see less of Lewis Dunk than we conventionally maybe think. We might not see him for the full 38-game season plus all cup games. But I don't necessarily think that we're going to see this Saturday, we're going to see him dropped. I don't think even, let's say, mid-September we'll see him drop. What I do maybe see is something like Lewis Dunk plays the first 5-6 games, Coppola, Buscagli come on here and there, play in the old cup game, come on for the last 20 minutes when we maybe want to change our setup a little bit, we want to change the shape. Maybe in September, October, Lewis Dunk picks up an injury, misses a couple of games, players come in, maybe he struggles to get his place back, and that's how we get into a position by, let's say, maybe Christmas, Lewis Dunk is on the bench and we've got Coppola or Buscagli, or maybe both, in a back two, in a back three alongside JP Van Hecke. I think that will happen. I'm not saying I desperately think it has to happen. I think the way that, people were talking a lot after the Wolfsburg game around how we look very good defensively, we look pretty terrible defensively, we look very good offensively, and actually we need to just drop Lewis Dunk, we need to make that change, he's the weak link. And a lot of the comments were saying that, and I don't disagree. I think we obviously, Lewis Dunk clearly is, I don't want to say he's inhibiting the way we play, but there is clearly a slight weak link there, a little bit. And you can tell if we're going to play on the halfway line, that's not the most suitable player to play there. However, if I was Fabian Hürzeler, I actually would still play him. I would start the season with him at left centre-half alongside JP Van Hecke. I would probably have played a back three. I'd have probably done it all the way through pre-season. But if I came in and started being the manager tomorrow, I probably wouldn't upturn the whole system tomorrow, 4 or 5 days before the Fulham game. If you're coming in tomorrow, you're making the changes, you're probably keeping a back four. I would probably keep Lewis Dunk in, and I would let natural progression, time take its course, and we will probably see by the end of the season. I think he will probably start 20 games, 25 games, maybe more. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe 25, 28 games I think he'll start across league and cup competitions. I think injuries will account for that. I think lack of form will account for that. And I think those two really strong players in Buscagli, in Coppola, will kind of force the hand of Fabian Hürzeler, to be honest, in terms of what we're going to do in terms of our centre-halves. I think it's a sad conversation to have. I think it's a difficult one for Brighton fans because he's been such a crucial part of our side over the last 10, 12 years. The promotion team, the team that kept us up, a captain in the Premier League, England international, a real source of pride for us Brighton fans. But, there's no doubt about it. He isn't the player he was 2-3 years ago. I think it's been overstated slightly. Do I think it's time for him to be dropped? Probably at some point this season, yeah, but not dropped. Just his role will be reduced, and I think ultimately the ultimate Fabian Hürzeler. It's difficult because the ultimate Fabian Hürzeler system is one where we've got that quarterback playing there, we've got the technical quality, we've got the passing ability, we've got the shot stopping ability of Lewis Dunk, that brilliant quarterback star that he has. You want that in your side as a technical football team that can move the ball through midfield, cut through passing lanes, all of that kind of thing. We want that in Lewis Dunk, but we just don't seem to have that pace which I think you want in a Fabian Hürzeler side where you're sitting so high up and you're often susceptible to counter-attacks. Maybe that's where Coppola or Buscaglia is the perfect replacement. It maybe just feels a little bit brutal. It feels a little bit close to home, doesn't it? To kind of have to have that conversation and go, look, no, we're going to make that call. We're going to make that decision. We're going to have to drop you. It's easier said than done. It's easy as Brighton fans to go, it's, it's time for Dunk to drop in. Let's just get rid. Let's drop. Let's bring in Coppola. Let's bring in Buscaglia. It feels easy to do that. It feels like in a moment sometimes you think, God, this guy maybe isn't what he quite once was. I think there's still a big role for him to play. I think leadership, but also technically, I think he is a very, very important player for us and one who's going to have a very, very important role to play this season. I think he will play a good amount of minutes. I think he will support the other players. I think he provides us flexibility to play other formations as well. But it's a difficult conversation. I understand that. And it's awkward and it's tricky and it's not a nice one to have. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think it's time for Brighton to drop Lewis Dunk? Do you think it's time for Fabian Hürzeler to put him on the bench, bring through Coppola, bring through Buscaglia? If we're playing the best Brighton 11 for the Fabian Hürzeler system, for counter-attacking, defences, what do we do? Is it time to drop him? Let me know in the comments. If you've got this far in the video and if you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button. If you find yourself coming back regularly to this channel, please hit the subscribe, the notification button and the like button in the comments. Let me know all of your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next one in a couple of days. And as always, up the Albion.